Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. Today's episode 6 of the Story Edge. We talk to awesome business leaders and we help business leaders to really get more out of what they want out of life. You know, better business, better life. And we try and tell stories that matter. And today I'm here with Jacques Velleman. You know, Jacques, actually something I do often, I never actually introduce myself as the host. so just as a quick, I'm Marlon August, I'm your host for the Story Edge. And here's Jacques Velleman. He's a really awesome business owner, businessman. He helps entrepreneurs. He's going to tell you more about that, but from my perspective, you help entrepreneurs really get more out of their business and out of their lives. Is that correct?
That's correct, Marlon. That's absolutely correct. So I started my business in 2012, and it started off with, really helping business owners. But because of my background, so I'm an accountant by trade.
Right.
And, when you look at a business, you only see what's going on a very superficial level, but the results of a business ends up in the numbers.
Right.
And how many business owners, they look at the cash in their business.
Yes.
But the numbers tell a story. And that's where it all started. It started off by the numbers telling a story.
Yes.
And you need to be very familiar with that story, because if you can change that story about the numbers, you can change the narrative about the business.
Right.
And Marlon, I've been in many board meetings, where people have discussions about the numbers, and then they talk about, yes, we need to change them, and those numbers don't look good, that looks fine, and so the story goes. The reality is, you cannot change a number.
Yeah. You can't change a number.
You can't change a number.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
I mean, you can, Marlon. You can.
You have to change the behavior behind the number.
Well, you can change the number. Give me a bit of Tipex, Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
I can make a plan for you.
Right.
But the reality is, you can't change it. You need to change the behavior behind the number. And that's where the impact in a business comes. And that's where I decided to focus on is, the behavior, the systems, the processes, that people have implemented in their business so that they can change the numbers. And when you change the behavior, you've got to see what the number kicks out. And if you change the process, you've got to match it with the numbers. And you've got to kick out better numbers.
Yes.
If it doesn't, you're not doing something right, and then you learn, you review, you learn, and you tweak.
No, awesome.
And that's really the essence of getting a business delivering numbers that make sense.
I mean, so that's interesting. So you started out as an accountant. Obviously, was that like? So did you have an accounting firm? Were you like a traditional accountant?
Marlon, please don't tell this to anybody. Well, it's on your podcast. So,
too late.
So there that goes. But yeah, I mean, that was my trade. I was trained as an accountant.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that because it's spelling this out, right? You can't really see the entire wall, but it's like where we are and where we want to get to, and like, these little hooks and crannies that we'd have to go around to get to where we eventually end up. And you had to start there to understand the power of numbers. And were you always into numbers? Was that like?
I think I just was good with numbers. So,
yeah.
It's one of those scenarios, you're good with it, and then you go and study it, and then you land up in a job that you work with numbers. So
right.
It was a skill that I had.
Right. And I mean, just talking around education and sometimes studying something that you don't necessarily practice in is not necessarily a bad thing. I know that today there's a lot of bad talk around education and the education system, and I know the education system is not the greatest worldwide. It's an antiquated system that needs a lot of tweaking and change.
Yeah.
But that aside, we somehow take for granted the fact that it's just something I'm thinking about lately, especially, is like the route we take is a necessary route for us to gain learnings and become better people with everything, because it's not really by accident. I know some people, they're like, their parents, you're going to become a doctor, and you go and you study medicine. And there's those type of situations, but then there's also like, you need to study something. So you're going to go choose whatever you want to go do, you study, and then those people end up in completely different arenas. But it's not necessarily bad, is it? It's not really. And I'm looking at your situation, I'm saying like, you were good at numbers, you did what you like, it kind of, but now you're following more into your passion, I'm assuming, compared to where you were before. I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, Marlon, life is a journey, and you've got to start somewhere, and a lot of times you go and you say, and you see people say, but I don't know what to study, for the people leaving school, and then they don't study anything.
Yeah.
People have a mindset of they don't know what they want to do, so they do nothing.
Right.
Which is really very, very dangerous. Life is about exploring and finding out, because nobody gets born with a handbook that says, Marlon, here is your life.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a blueprint.
This is what you need to do.
All you have to do is you have to say yes there, no there, do that, go there. That's just not going to happen. But you have to try and do a few things. So I went out and I tried to study accounting. I did it for a couple of years, and then realized, but this wasn't really what I wanted to do. It wasn't my full-time passion, but I'm extremely grateful for the experience. I'm extremely grateful for the knowledge, and the fact of the matter is, life is you've got to commit to lifelong learning. 100%. So the fact that I've just got that learning, that's not the beginning and the end of all. It's now, what are you studying next? What are you learning next? What skills are you putting in your arsenal, so that you can live out your purpose more fully, and when your skills is more in line with what you want to achieve, I mean, that's when you're fueling the fire. That's when, what you study becomes meaningful. And I mean, my sister, which I, truly love, but she's got 3 degrees. And it was really, that was her journey, She did photography, she loved that, she became a journalist, she did that. So, and now funny enough, she's also an accountant. But she started off with photography, and that was her journey.
Sure.
So for me, it's about, just study something. If you don't know what you want to study, just take a lucky packet, draw a number from a hat.
Yeah.
But do something. Commit to some sort of a learning.
I agree. I mean, I've never really been one for school. I hated school. So when came after school and my parents were like, you need to study something, I was like, I want to just learn judo. I just want to be in sports my whole entire life. But obviously I did enjoy, and reading was not really one of my things. I know you love reading, and we're going to get into that. But I was more of an auditory listener. So I took all my information in. If I could learn, if I could watch something and hear it, I would excel at it. And it took a while for me to understand that. But once I did, and because I was very much into personal development, I really understood, and I loved like the idea of just pushing and thriving and achieving. So I was like, that's the type of mind, working on your mind and being really clear in your intentions and creating that from a different space. So that I went straight into that, but my studies was in that space where I could hear it and absorb it and practice it. And that's how I started to learn, and I think this is another thing people need to know in themselves, like you say, you got to learn more about you by trying, right? You got to try these things. You love to read. You love books, right?
Absolutely, and I mean, books is knowledge. So
yeah,
the reality is, we only think about 80 to 90% of the thoughts that we had the previous day.
Yeah.
So our ability to generate new thoughts is very limited. So you've then got to ask yourself the question, okay, but what's my strategy to get more knowledge into my head. In other words, a different way of thinking. And books is an ideal manner for that.
Yes.
I was fortunate, you know. I had a mom that at a very young age took us to the library. In the days we still had library cards and stamps and all of that stuff going.
Yeah.
And you know, every week we would go and take out a new book. So the love for learning was really instilled at a very, very young age, which I'm eternally grateful for. But you know, where it stems in my adult life is it gives me the ability to access knowledge that I didn't have. And that's why reading is so imperative. And for guys like you who don't necessarily like to read or prefer the audio, I mean, you've got Audible, so there's just so much cool ways to get new information.
Oh yeah. No, learning. We're on the same page. We love, and I think this. If you're not absorbing new information, you can't find a different perspective. If you don't have a different perspective, how are you gonna change things in your life?
No, absolutely.
And this is why we have different people. This is why we have different teachers, and now we can learn from people all around the world in an instant. You know,
we can learn in different ways. You know, because you know, like you said in the beginning, the schooling system is antiquated. Because the schooling system only caters for a certain individual that learns in a certain specific way.
Yeah.
But not everybody is like that, you know. Some people are more, you know, they like audio more, you know, they're more in tune to that. Other people are more tactile, you know. So the fact is that we have got all those abilities to learn.
Yeah.
And there's so many resources. So there's actually no excuse, eh, Marlon?
No.
So people that know stuff, there's just no excuse.
No, 100%. Especially today.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think with COVID now in the space and people understanding that we have to expand our ways of having to get information to people. It's just one of these things that we're going to have to we're going to have to try with and try and get to different kids, and especially kids now. They're studying from home, right? A lot of them. So they might even just realize, oh, this thing is off, and I actually just prefer the sound of my teacher's voice as opposed to seeing her. I don't need to look at her. I can just hear what she's saying and get it in, or the actual experience of what we're doing is working better for us. And I guess this is just ways that's helping us try and find different ways of teaching and learning and things like that. So, well, let's see what happens. Let's see how the system. I mean, you got a child. How is the learning?
No, but exactly. I mean, so the interesting thing is that different children learn differently.
Yeah.
You know, so and I guess if we pull that back to adults, different adults operate in different environments. So for some adults, working from home works.
Yeah.
For other adults, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's the same with children. For some children, online schooling works. For other children, like my daughter, it's just not the preferred environment. You know, some people just like that connection.
Sure.
You know, they need that energy to fuel them to be able to give their best. And I guess that's what the world is coming to. You know, whether it's our children being educated or we being educated, it's also our customers. You know, if you take the link through there, everybody, you know, there's a much more compelling story to look after people specifically for their needs, as opposed to applying a blanket approach.
Right.
You know, and we can take the conversation back to the schooling education, to people working or not working from home, to how do we serve or not serve our clients. Yeah. A blanket approach just is not working anymore.
It's very true. I think this is just where technology was already taking us, where there's so many of us, there's so much opportunity that you can't really look at it like a factory anymore. The business, the way we teach and the way we speak to people, the way we connect with others. And I love that you brought that up. I mean, going now to business and especially around the personalized approach. What do you see happening in the market? I mean, like you have a different a different range of clients, right?
Yeah.
They're in different industries. How are you seeing that? You're obviously trying to integrate that within your teachings and within the way you consult, I'm assuming. So how are you seeing this play out in the business world?
Well, how I see it play out is that businesses that don't cater for the specific needs of their clients, I just think they will lose those clients.
Yeah.
And the businesses that do cater for that, they will grow. And it's going to be, the trick is going to be is how close are you, and how do you communicate and get that info so that you can know what it is. So if you've got a kid, how do you know whether your kid is more, would learn better from an online environment as opposed to from a classroom environment? Well, you've got to test stuff.
Exactly.
And you that's in the social media space and in the online marketing space, it's like your ABC testing or your A/B testing. You try a certain channel, you see what the changes are. Are people going for that, or are they going for that when they have a choice? And that type of conversation and that type of processes and business systems is going to become extremely valuable, because you can't just give customers, if you give customers just one option, they're either going to say yes or no. And all you know is that they do or don't like that option.
Yeah.
When you give customers 2 or 3 options, you know which one they like the most.
Right.
There's still always an element of the customers are going to drop off completely, that you still don't know what they want.
Yeah.
But you're going to get so much closer to really know what people want and how to serve them. And that is where the trick lies. If you take the conversation then back to the education, nobody has really gone and done the analysis to see, but how do kids learn better? And what school do you go to, for instance, where they look at you and you say, okay, let's assess your child and see how this child learns the best.
I'm sure they are. I think they are.
Yeah.
I don't know of any, but I think they are.
You haven't got children yet, eh?
No.
Okay, cool.
No, but what about those Aurora schools?
They don't. Well, we've been in an Aurora a few years back.
Aurora and then Montessori.
Yeah, Montessori is a bit of a different one. They might have it, but your general mainstream schools don't do it.
Right.
And not everybody can afford a
Montessori. No, for sure. I get that, because I actually did work with somebody, and they were alluding to that around they really personalize the thing. But in practice, it's a whole different story, because we are very primed to this world of like looking at our business like a factory, right? And looking at these widgets that we're going to put in, and I get, and many aspects of a business should be like that. It makes sense, that if I put it in there, it must predictably come out on this side like this. Now, how do people actually apply that when you want to work with lots of different clients and all that stuff? How do I actually now cater to your issue, or how do I do that without losing out on the masses, let's just say, or the real success I could achieve in my business?
Well, the problem is with the masses, I guess, is you don't. If you have them, you're obviously doing something right. If you don't have them, you're obviously not doing something right.
Right.
Okay. So the trick is always just to get the minimum viable product going.
Right.
Because once you get the minimum viable product, you get the what do they call them, the mavericks, the early adopters, and then you work through the process of then getting the masses. But it's about first testing and seeing what is it that the people really want, and who's going to be your first adopters, and then after that, the masses will come.
Right. Exactly. You don't build the ark in a day, right? You take that time to actually work with your client, your ideal client's a pool, and then you sort of carve it out from there.
Yeah.
And then you get it out to the world. I think also another thing is like people have this is just my skewed perception of it. People have an odd, a skewed perception of what success actually means for their business and what would really work for them. Depending on the time of the amount of time in their business. Because most people start with this idea, a lot of people, they start with this idea that we're going to be huge, you're going to be a big business, and then actually it's like they need to actually be a whole different type of business to be able to achieve those results. I'm not sure if you've experienced that or how that is, but I've just noticed with some of the people in my space that they got a really, I even had at one point a wrong perception of the business that I was actually trying to build. And then when I realized the type of business I want to build, I realized I didn't actually need that many clients. I just needed to be billing in the right way so that I could be serving them correctly and having the right flow in my business so that I can grow it even better. So my growth wasn't necessarily the lots of people come in, lots of people go out type of vibe. It's more about you need about like 7 clients, and these 7 clients you're serving them. They tend to be in my space for about 6 to 8 months, and then they kind of move on because they've got their systems. They're moving on with their marketing, and now I can get the next 7 in. And that whole thing, it's not like this. It's not an Apple, that we're not producing these widgets that we sell all around the world. We are doing a personalized service that takes time in order to get real results in. So understanding that and having that knowledge in my mind and carving that out over a period of time, I started to realize that. How do people, I guess my question is like, how can they actually start to be more clear on the type of, this is what you help people do, right? You help people get that clarity in terms of where they want to go. What are the metrics that we need to be looking at in order to get success? And what does a success actually mean? So could you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, it's a very good question, Marlon. People know what they want from their feelings. So they know. Right. So they know that. I want a business that feels like this. Feels big and makes money and all the good stuff. The problem is exactly what you're saying. Is how do you measure that success? And there's different ways that work. The one that I use with my clients that work is a system called OKRs.
Okay.
So it's objectives and key results. So for me, it's about linking the mind and the heart. So what I'm always interested is, what is it that you want? What is your wildly important goal? What is that? What does that look like? And for me, that's the heart. Like that's the stuff that when you look at your wildly important goal, you go like, shit, man, like that I really want. Like that's going to make the difference. And then we pull it back and we say, okay, so what are the key objectives you want to achieve then? And when you start doing the key objectives, you're building a bridge, because the next one is, so what are the results that you are looking for? And as soon as you go into results, you then become measurable. So the objectives is the bridge. The results is then the actual metric destination, where we say, okay, what does it look like in the next 3 months? Because goal setting is the other myth that there is. Goal setting is, there's 2 types of goals. And there's a Harvard study that have been done about this. There's 2 types of goals that work. Long-term goals, like very long-term, and short, immediate goals. Anything in between, the medium stuff, it's useless. So what we work with is we work with 3 months. So in a 3-month period, what are the key results that you want to achieve that relates back to your wildly important goal? And what we find is, your wildly important goal, there's only 1 or 2 usually in a business. Once we've identified that, we then go and we look at the key results, because the key results, they change all the time. Every 3 months they change. So they are the tires on the road. They are the ones that give you the traction that you need to be able to achieve that goal. And that's when people start to know and feel what success is, because at the end of 3 months, you've got specific stuff, and we use what we call the robot system, where it's green, amber, or red. And at the end of a 3-month period, you've got to go and look and see, have I got green? And the more greens you have, the more you feel success. And when you feel success, it gives you energy, it gives you momentum, and it gives you new energy to sort of tackle the next 3 months, and then you identify new key results. And that's how you slowly but surely build that business and build it so that it can be measurable and you can achieve what we call your wildly important goals.
Awesome. And I think I've got a friend, he refers it as a BHAG. What's it called? The big, hairy, audacious goal.
Yeah.
So very cool, and that makes sense. It makes sense to break it down in that way, because, like you say, it can get extremely fluffy. I want a successful business. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And I went through that stage too. So I totally understand why people get stuck there, because it's like it's so much easier than having to get to the point where I know what that looks like. So I mean, like that process, that can so do you plan like for the year ahead, or do you only break it up into the quarters?
No, you plan for a year. Well, you plan a budget for the year. So you plan numbers for the year. But you can't plan, 12 months is a long time.
Yeah.
So, more than your numbers and more than key strategies that you want to implement. Like, some things are going to take longer than a year. So you've got to decide, well, do we need more people? Do we need new premises? Do we need different machinery? Do we need certain campaigns? And they're going to run over a year. You've got to decide which ones of those you broadly want. And then you've got to decide, so which ones of those am I initiating now? And with that initiation, what does success look like in 3 months? So it's actually quite fun. It's a fun, creative process of saying, what is it that you're going to build your strategy on? But, coming back to, I was having a conversation with one of the directors, on the Business Book Club last night. And, we said that, we've got to do our strategy for that organization. But the problem with strategy is you need information. Because otherwise you can always just sit in a strategy session and you just, you can be creative with your own thoughts.
Lots of ideas.
But the problem with that is you're talking strategy then from your perspective. And strategy should really be spoken about from the customer's perspective, from those who you want to serve. So before you really do a strategy session as such, you actually need to have a session with your customers. And you've got to talk to them about what they want and what do they see in the market, what are their challenges, what are rocks that they, what are they grappling with? Because you and I know both, Marlon, if you're not solving a problem for somebody, you're not in business.
Exactly.
So if you are not understanding what your customers' problems are, why would you want to have a strategy session? Because all you're going to do is you're just going to talk from your perspective.
100%. I love the fact, I love this, because this is exactly, we had actually instituted this in my business in terms of what we're doing. We actually said, okay, now this is a great time. Everyone's sort of unwinding, and it's a bit stressful because at the same time, it's a different year than it's been most years before for everybody. But at the same time, we're taking that time to say, okay, I think people have found it more important to connect because of the COVID and all of that than ever. So people are more open as well to communicating. So yes, that's exactly it. We decided to go back and connect with every single one of our past clients that have actually been clients and the ones that actually fallen off too. Funny enough, we found that was the very important thing. And these are some of the questions we're asking. So I guess that is a great thing for you guys to go out and do right now. Go and connect and not just during the end of the year, but actually I know of some organizations that break it up within their process for a month or for the week to actually go and connect with customers and ask them specific questions around what will make their lives better in terms of working with them and how are things for them. So it's really, really good. I love that. I think that's really awesome. Because like you say, if you're not solving a problem for them, how are they gonna want to be in your space?
Yeah, exactly.
It's awesome. So, so you were talking about the business book club.
Yes.
So I think Jacques has got a very awesome way of connecting with his audience and positioning himself. Because I'm always talking to my clients, to my followers online, and within my database, I'm always talking about positioning and how important it is from a marketing point of view. Let's talk about the business book club. Tell me about it.
Marlon, so yeah, I mean, we started the Business Book Club. It's a non-profit organization. We started it in April 2017.
Awesome.
And the Business Book Club is really a monthly event where we get a local author, business author, which we interview. And last night we had our first live event since lockdown.
Oh, wow.
And we had it
in person.
It was at the Rock Design Quarter, and
Cool.
I interviewed Pavlo Petidis.
Okay.
You guys might have heard him over 702.
I'm not in the media.
He's quite well known
Yes.
in that space, in the SME space. So people attend the event and there's no entrance fee, but we ask people to pay it forward by donating a second-hand book.
Awesome.
And then those books we distribute to communities in less privileged areas. And up to date, we've collected 8,000 books.
Awesome.
And Marlon, it's really, it fuels the passion of, you don't know what you don't know. And that's always the freaking problem we have. We see the world only from our eyes, and we can only see it from the perspective that we have with the knowledge that we've accumulated. And when you read and you get access to other ways of doing things and what has been achieved and other people's thinking, you just enrich your life, and it gives you an opportunity to raise your level of consciousness, which means you start to think different. And when you start to think different, you come to a crossroads where you can make different decisions. And you and I are both sitting here today based on the decisions that we've made.
100%.
It's an accumulation of decisions that we've made. In the end, I had to say, you had to decide to ask me, I had to decide to say yes. And that has led to today.
100%.
Decisions. So our whole life is based on decisions. So the quality of your decisions depends the quality and the success of your life. So if you want to change that, change your decisions. But how do I change my decisions? Well, you need to have different thoughts, because when you have different thoughts, you can have different decisions. Great, Jacques, lovely. So where do I buy new thoughts? Like where do I press the button? Where's the new thought button? Where do I do the download? You don't. It takes a time, and you've got to invest in new thoughts. And the investment in new thoughts, one of the avenues is books, and it's a great avenue, and we believe that we can help people alleviate poverty. We can help people make different choices about their futures, and we can help people in lesser communities build better businesses. And if we build better businesses and we build more successful businesses, we can look after more people, and we can alleviate poverty that this country, it's a big shackle for this country. It's a big draining emotionally and financially for this country.
Big time. So there's a lot. Thank you for sharing that. I think there's a lot in what you just shared there, because first of all, it's a non-profit organization that you've positioned in that you're doing in that way. You're giving back. It's part of your mission. Which is connected to a much deeper purpose, and I think when we are building businesses, when many people are building businesses, their whole idea is to make money.
Yeah.
But I think one thing what changed my perspective on that was something I heard from Earl Nightingale, who I'm very grateful for, by the way, because he brought that whole revolution of audiobooks and audio learning. But he said in that the greatest secret is that he said that the only people that make money work in a printing press. You know, for you to actually create that the people that are out there that are rich, they are providing value to the people that need it and want it, and are willing to share part with their money in order to do it. So for you to have it. So you're bringing value, and you bring that value because there's a deeper meaning and a deeper mission in it. Because now, obviously, Business Book Club, you said started 2017, right?
Yeah.
So it's been 3 years. It's been in operation, and I'm pretty sure it's a very hard 3 years. It's a non-profit, so your money, your funding has to come from outside places.
Yeah.
So which is no different really from a lot of businesses. Most people started from their pocket. And the thing is, the whole purpose is not for profit. So the structure of that business is a whole lot different. But there's an element of mission, there's an element of the people that you serve and that you bring value to, and you understand where the money is. So you have to go, and in this case it's the book, right? So you understand that in the exchange of value that happens in that space where the people come and you connect with authors and prominent people, you know, people that have a big message to share. So you bring them all into one space, and then from that place they all share. So they're bringing books that connects and brings other people back into the system. I think that just as a system is awesome. And I mean, most businesses where people are for profit, they don't even think about it in that way, that it is continuous and is perpetual in nature. There's usually just an in and out, you know, you buy, go. If you look at most shops, that's the case. They're always constantly having to go out and get new leads. Shops, restaurants, they operate under their guise, and that's kind of why most of them don't have this. There's very few people that actually stick around. You know, the guys that really enjoy the atmosphere. So I think that's really, really clever. Just the way that you position and in the way you created it. So did you? Was that? I mean, did you think about it like that? Did you really like plan it like that, or did it just sort of organically happen in that way?
I kind of sense it was organically. You know, when I planned the business book club, I wanted to pay it forward. So that was the first thing. I wanted to pay it forward. I wanted to do something, and I don't believe in giving somebody a fish. For me, it's more about teaching people to fish.
Right.
You know, so giving somebody something of value, which the books are, is in line, and it's in line with my own passion. So it was something that was in alignment. So that made sense to me. But first of all, you know, it was my target audience. So my other business is called Centered, and there I work with business owners. So I wanted to do something with those business owners.
Yes.
And I thought, well, if I start a book club, because most business owners that I've worked with read and enjoy reading and enjoy authors. So to fill their needs, it was the business book club. But just to create the business book club was cool. So to make it worthwhile and to give it the edge, that's where the donation part came in. That's where it came in. Well, why don't we get a bunch of people to come in and have it at venues, and give people exposure to books, but also allow them to give something. Because Marlon, you know as good as I do, that when you give something away for free, it sometimes dilutes the value. So giving an event away for free could dilute the value, but now that you come to the event and you have to give a book, it's a feel-good factor. So
yes.
People come there and they feel good twice.
Yes.
They feel good by giving the book, and then they also feel good about actually attending and enjoying the event.
Yes.
And that I think is in a big way part of the success of the Business Book Club. I think if we didn't have the book donations, I don't think we would have been that successful, because people actually want to give. They just don't know how.
Yes.
And the Business Book Club has given them an ability to be able to give.
Oh, that's awesome. I really like that idea, and as well, as you were talking, I was thinking I've got to try and see how I can implement this type of idea into other sort of campaigns, because it is smart, and when people come with something ready to give, they are ready to be there, be there, present in the event. Because if you have a free event, they're just like, okay, you do whatever you're supposed to do. I'm here, even if they make it, But if they're coming with something, that means that they're bringing more of themselves to the event, which is really, really awesome. So the Business Book Club also positioned you, because as you said initially, it was also built out of this need for the people that you serve within your profit business. So I guess the question is like, what is, when you were working with, like, it positioned you separately with that. So you got these people coming in, they're coming to see you, they don't really know you, I'm assuming. They might know the author, or they might have connected with you at a past event. So this also positions you separately from the people that you are working with. Does that make sense? I know I mean,
it does two things. It does give you access to people, whether they become your clients or not. Some of them will, some of them won't. But you know how it works. It's some of them work with people who know people who know people.
Yes.
So that's that element, and it's a long cycle.
Yes.
But after 3 years, that cycle does help. But and this is the one you must never forget. It positions you with your current clients. Because remember, we always have to fight for our current clients.
Yes.
Fight is not the right word. We always have to make sure that we're adding value to our current clients additionally to what they offer.
100%.
So, with my current clients, I charge them a nominal, a subscription fee, and I offer them a service. The fact that I'm doing the Business Book Club, they like, because it gives them additional access to me in a different environment that they don't pay for in monetary terms. They just pay for it out of a feel-good environment. So it's a double whammy. So, a lot of the times, and I think the way forward is you've got to be very clever. You've got to think about, how do you hook clients? So how do you maintain them? Because sometimes, the worst thing is having clients and losing them, because the cost of obtaining a client is extremely high. So you've got to do stuff also that you can keep them, that could possibly differentiate you from your competitors. And that's what is important to understand, because there's always the two parts. The one is the access to new clients, but the other one is, and I think sometimes we forget that conversation, is the one about how do we make sure that we exceed expectations, because that's always what you want to do.
Yes.
Because once you've exceeded expectation, you hook, and the ball becomes a non-issue.
Right, 100%. 100%. No, 100%. And thank you so much, Jacques, for that. I mean, if you're going to be creating, and I think it's coming right back to the what we were talking about in the beginning, if you're going to be creating a personalized experience, and you're creating this experience and making it feel like it's just for me, why would I want to leave? I would want to stay around. And because you are continuously improving the space for me, we're going to continue this journey for as long as we need to. So I think that's really awesome. Thank you very much, Jacques. It was really awesome talking to you.
Absolute pleasure, Marlon.
Look, so people can get you at the book club?
They can get me at the book club. So
the book club, what is
so the Business Book Club's website is www.thebusinessbookclub.org.
Yeah.
So there we showcase all the events. We also showcase all the past events. So if you've missed on any, you're welcome to check it out. We've got podcasts of that going. If you want to get a hold of me, the website is www.centred, CENTRED,
Yeah.
.co.za.
Centered, not.
Yes.
The centered. So cool. Thank you very much, Jacques. I'm gonna drop the links anywhere in and around this video. We're gonna put this out everywhere. So.
Cool. Well, thanks for the interview and thanks for allowing me to be on your show.
Awesome. Thanks. Cool, man. Awesome.